This week on MS Refresh, everything that was, well, theoretically coming to Microsoft 365 by the end of last month, July. Some moderated Q&A options coming to Microsoft Teams meetings. And it's time to revisit the status of the Microsoft Stream upgrade and all that. So all that and more, subscribe to stay in the know. This is the MS Refresh Show. Hi there, and welcome to the Matt and Sean 365 Refresh Show. This is episode 33 for the work week of August 9th, 2021. Coming to you from the East Coast, my name is Matt Wade.
And on the West Coast, Sean Bugler. Hi.
Oh, hey, how goes it?
I'm sorry for delaying us.
Crap
for those of you for those of you who are going to be watching this pre-recorded and well after the fact, we were supposed to start 30 minutes ago, and we did not.
Real life gets in the way. What are you going to do?
It does, and hopefully there will be some news to share in another week or two. But until then, all of you just give my apologies. Sorry about that. How was your week?
My week was good. We went on a little bit of a vacation. Saw some friends of mine, actually from your neck of the woods. A buddy of mine who went sold his soul from the East Coast to the West Coast. He and I grew up together, and they're living
West Coast, Best Coast, baby.
That's right. So he says. Yeah, they're in like the Santa Clara area, and he just got engaged recently.
That's hot down there.
Yeah. We hooked up over in Massachusetts, and good to see those guys. His family was out there, and then a bunch of other friends and family friends were vacationing the same week. So got to like catch up with people who I haven't seen in 19 months or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I saw my uncle who lives in the area, and he had a kid over all of this, and I just saw him for the first time a couple of days ago, and it's so strange to realize just how long it's been for many of us to see like family.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
what about you? Anything good?
Yeah, you know, it's a little bit of this and that. We're coming up to the tail end of the summer semester, so I'm still kind of deeply entrenched in corporate finance and accounting, which has been, you know, not my favorite part. Sorry if my professor somehow watches the show. But I've got one exam due today that I'm going to knock out quite literally right after this. Fingers crossed. And then I've got another one I got to knock out tomorrow. But
I don't know how you do this. This is crazy to me.
You know, there's this interesting thing about the human brain, and I'm not a psychologist, but it's something I learned a long time ago, which is that the human brain's not really good at remembering how much something hurts, just only kind of the relative concept of pain, which is the only reason we can survive. Like I don't know if you've ever broken a bone or anything, but you don't remember, if you could remember how excruciating that is forever, you would never do anything. You would lock yourself in your home. We don't remember how much something hurts. We just kind of remember that it does. It's binary, which is super interesting. It's why people have more than one kid. It's also why they 10 years after they thought they were done with school, go back to school. Because they remember that it was like unpleasant for the most part, but they don't really remember how.
It wasn't that bad, wasn't it? I had friends. I had a social life. You know, I did things with it that balanced it out.
You know, and the virtual keggers just aren't as fun, to be honest with you.
Can totally relate to that. Yep. Especially since they stopped doing takeout drinks here in New York. Cuomo decided, I don't know, like a month ago, that was no longer going to be a thing. And it's like, but I can't make my own drinks. I pay somebody else to make it for me, and I want to drink them at home. What the heck?
Who would have thought that was only the second worst thing Cuomo would do in the last 3 months?
I mean, it's tied, frankly. That's pretty important to me. I saw my assemblyman a couple weeks ago, and I told him how I felt about this. Like, I'm an adult here. You need to treat me as one. I'm just kidding.
No, I hear you. Like, I do think that the whole relaxation around like drinking and like delivery of drinks and things like that, you know, we're adults.
Agreed.
I mean, somebody's going to make me regret saying that, but like, let me order drinks to go.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, some places, you know, they have the drive-throughs. We don't have to go that far.
Right. I'm not even asking for that. I could get on this high horse for a long time. All right. So as a friendly reminder, just before we hit the news, we are going with a bit of a new format. So this week is the second week of the month. So what we are going forward with here is to cover what was due last month. So by the end of July, we were expecting X. Did we get X, or did we get X minus Y? Probably the latter. Last week we covered what is coming this month, and then next week we're going to be doing just a generalized message center roundup the last week of the month, or sorry, the fourth week of the month, which is usually the last week of the month, but I think in August it's actually not. We're going to be covering what's new and updated from that month. So basically a look back on that month and what's been announced and what's coming up soon. So with that, I will pass it off to you, Sean.
Let's do the news. Let's do the news. Let's do the.
This is the news.
It's the second week of the month, which means we're taking the opportunity to look back on the month that's just passed, July, and everything that did and didn't launch in the Microsoft 365 universe. Kicking things off strong with good news, items that successfully launched. Microsoft Stream now provides the ability to block channel meeting recordings automatically in the admin center. When enabled, only team owners will be able to download these recordings. In Microsoft Forms, GCC, GCC High, and DoD customers now have the new Microsoft Forms homepage experience, as well as, drumroll please, the ability to upload attachments in a form response. Hot ticket item. Moving over to SharePoint, the service now offers audience targeting for the events web part, and Microsoft Lists in the government cloud now supports @mentions in comments. In Microsoft Search, the Microsoft search box for guest users has finally moved up to the sweet bar at the very top of the screen in SharePoint, OneDrive, and Lists, just like it is for us regular users. In the world of Microsoft Planner and To Do, you can now create a task from a message in Microsoft Teams and store it in either Planner or To Do. And Planner will now make intelligent suggestions on files you might want to add to a task. And finally, for items launched in the month of July, we've got Microsoft Teams. Teams had by far the most deliverables in July, and the following have rolled out in full. macOS native notifications in Teams, AI-based remediation of Microsoft Teams Rooms device health issues, threat detection and security update management for Microsoft Teams Rooms, Teams app risk details provided by Cloud App Security to help admins review apps quicker, Immersive Reader for mobile, the Microsoft Teams Classes LTI app, which helps educators and students easily navigate between their LMS, Learning Management System, and Teams, and the ability to lock an ongoing meeting to stop additional people from joining. Never forgetting our friends in government, of course. You all picked up expanded support for 1,000-person meetings and chats. This rolled out to both GCC High and DoD. DoD also got virtual breakout rooms, GCC High got live reactions in meetings, and GCC got native notifications in Windows 10 and chat preview notification settings. Whew. You know, all of us here at Refresh love a happy ending. And while we want nothing more than to deliver nonstop good news, we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't share the tough news as well. Here's all the items that didn't make it on time last month. In SharePoint, the modern SharePoint App Store is still rolling out late. Though even after rollout, you'll still have to click the Exit Classic Experience link after clicking Add an App in the SharePoint site settings menu. The new experience is a nice improvement, but in playing with it, we're not entirely sure how the traditional document library and various list options are going to fit in with this new look and feel. And for government clouds, a hotly anticipated item, collapsible sections on modern pages, continues to roll out. A number of other items on the SharePoint roadmap were just outright pushed to this month, August, including Auto News Digest, dynamic gallery views for lists and libraries, support for the thousands separator in the numbers column of a SharePoint list, offline mode for lists, calendar view in the lists web part, an updated page details pane allowing for page authors to delete a page or change the URL, the ability to create a Microsoft list right from the Office homepage, and the ability to drag and drop row order in lists. Over to OneDrive. All of the July OneDrive specific deliverables are late and continue to roll out. Those include finding a meeting recording in OneDrive using Microsoft Search based on transcripts. Cool. And for the government clouds, automatic expiration on external access for OneDrive files. And finally, a couple of Microsoft Search items are late or continue to roll out. The Images tab for search results remains on the horizon, along with the upcoming Actions menu in search results that would, among other things, enable editing a file in the desktop app, as well as downloading or sharing a file, rather than just opening the file in the relevant web app.
That was the news.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, John. What was something that stood out to you this week, perhaps?
It's really funny because I think as we've transitioned to this new format, there's a little bit more homework in advance of that, which means that we're done a little bit sooner in advance of these episodes. And so some of the stuff that hits the news is like, I mean, obviously, like there's interesting nuggets hiding inside of that, but every now and again something slips through that's just, it's not quite in the news segment, but it's interesting. And one of those was Microsoft very quietly announcing that they were going to be kind of I don't even know how you would explain it, extracting the Q&A portion from Teams live events and creating an app around it that can be used in all Teams meetings. Have you seen this?
I had heard reference to it, yeah. And the concept to me that you can kind of do like a Lego set of what your meeting or webinar is going to be. It hadn't dawned on me that you can like take pieces of existing, like services within Teams to like apply to it, which is actually really kind of, a very cool use of the new app-based technologies that they're pushing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that particularly as Teams gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, like it, we've made the joke since the beginning that Teams is already this, giant coal train that you start up and all the fans start firing on your computer because it's just this. There's so much happening inside of it.
My MacBook is just like, my hair is blowing. I feel like I'm in a shampoo commercial or something.
And it's when you see all the development that's still being just kind of like jammed into it. Yeah. It's hard to imagine what maintaining that behemoth must be like. Yeah. But when you consider this idea of starting to compartmentalize so that they can optimize and update a piece of it without having to, be a part of this much larger sprint development process in the Microsoft world, that makes sense. You see Google doing that with Android. You see to some degree Microsoft doing the same thing on the Windows side of things, where they're starting to just kind of bundle these smaller chunks together so that teams can kind of improve this as it goes along. And I think that it makes sense. I'm also a big proponent of kind of leveling the experience across Teams, meetings, broadcasts. Like live events are a little bit different. They're starting to differentiate live events from webinars, and they're starting to differentiate both of those from meetings. Yep. And I think that's a problem because that means that the barrier to entry for somebody stepping into a live event or stepping into a webinar, even as just a speaker, is problematic if it's not the same level set experience from, surface to surface. So when you see little things like this, like plucking Q&A out of there, why would you build a thing that just simply doesn't work in meetings? I'm glad that they're doing this, and I think they should continue to do that.
Yeah, you're right. The three different options for a meeting, ignoring the fact that the word meeting means something in Teams, but just like the vernacular word, it's just that much more of a which tool when question. And this platform is great for which tool when. I swear, if I got a nickel for every time I had to answer that question, I'd be a millionaire at this point. And
don't you get a couple pennies out of that really great video that we'll link in the show notes?
Which one? There's like half a dozen which tool when.
Did you see that before we jump onto that? Did you see that? I think it was a Wall Street Journal article a couple weeks ago that was talking about like the cottage YouTube industry that Microsoft has created, built around.
It did, yeah. If I had, so the videos that I have done that I did last year for the most part, I try to do one every so often now, but full-time job, it's really hard to do that and keep up with the content creation schedule. But I left my job in July of 2020 to write the book, and then took a new job in December. So, almost a half of a year or so. And I tried to make myself do one or two videos each week. And as long as you can get the right content together and, I guess speak or like put together a script that is not simple enough, but like gets the point across in a short enough time period, YouTube can be amazing for getting your word out there and, all of that kind of stuff. It kind of blew me away that like the number of subscribers in this channel is like, I think 3 times what I have on Twitter and or Twitter or LinkedIn. And those 2 platforms are the ones that I always, tried to excel at back in the day. And YouTube is just by far the algorithm. If you do, let's say reasonably good work, can really reward you.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, the diversity of the audience on YouTube, I think, really speaks to kind of the broad universe that Microsoft has built.
Yeah, and I mean, you can cover literally anything. Like you can get as basic in Excel, or you can get super high into I don't know, external sharing best practices for OneDrive specifically, right? Like, and somebody out there wants to watch that. It's pretty interesting.
That's there's this horrifying fact that Lawrence just shared with us in the in the comments here. The average attention span of millennials, which of course you and I are included in, is 12 seconds. And were it not for the fact that I'm looking at your face, looking at me, I probably would have just kind of like, huh?
I mean, hey, the benefit there is that Google these days, you search a term and it'll tell you like, oh, these 12 seconds in this 17-minute video, that's what you're looking for. So I don't even have to go look for it myself.
That's how I remind myself how to tie a tie.
Right? Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Exactly.
What caught your attention this week?
All right, so I thought we didn't talk about it all in the news, but I thought it was probably time to look back on the new Stream, Microsoft Stream, the video player, and kind of discuss where are we, what's coming, what's the timeline, and just kind of like what's going on here. So if you're not familiar, consider this a nice intro here. So Microsoft Stream, the video player in O365, is going to be upgraded, I'll say. Migrated to a new stream. So you'll hear the terms classic stream and you'll hear new stream or modern stream. And the basic sort of deliverable here is going to be that the video portal isn't really going to be a video portal anymore. It's going to be more like almost like a OneDrive experience where video is just looked at as a file type, but stream is meant to be the homepage for all of your video files, which means a new experience, web app for watching video in the browser, all of that kind of stuff. I'll pop up a couple graphics here. So like this is supposed to be what the new Stream homepage is going to look like once it's out and finished. And then the new Stream player is going to look like this. So it will be right in the screen. If you click a video file anywhere in OneDrive, SharePoint, or I presume Microsoft Teams as well, it will show the video. Basically, the player will be what launches as the preview if you were to open up the file otherwise, and it'll show the transcript, things like that. Right now, most of that stuff hasn't rolled out yet, but there are a couple cool things that I think are worth knowing. First, if I pull this video screen up here, this is what Stream looks like today. It's a video portal. There is an admin center for it. In the future, it will not be so much a portal as it will be just like a file finding experience. And then the web player will be in wherever, will play from wherever you happen to access it. OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, whatever. So Stream is going to be more like a service that like is pulled in or like accessed whenever you deal with videos. It's not going to be so much about the video portal anymore. And if you're not aware, there's actually, you actually should have access already to the new video portal, the new Stream homepage. If you go to stream.office.com, it will bring you to the preview of what the new video home is going to look like. So it looks just like the Office homepage. It looks just like the Word homepage, where it tells you or gives you the opportunity to look at, recommended, all, recent, shared, all that kind of stuff. It will also have a similar new up here at the top, like this Word one does. But that hasn't come yet. So I kind of mentioned just a second ago that the new homepage is going to if you look at the new homepage here, it's got, I think, screen recording, podcast, playlist, and video directly from your webcam, something like that. So it's really going to be a working zone, which means if you do have a video portal and you're dependent upon it in the Stream Classic, you kind of have to rebuild it in SharePoint using file preview web parts and basically highlighted content and file and document library web parts, because it's no different than a Word document or a PDF or something like that. So that's sort of where we are right now. The other quick thing I want to mention is the player has kind of sort of upgraded. So if you go into, at least on the commercial side, a video and you press play on it, the controls are going to be on the bottom left now. It used to be in the center. And then this is the new UI for it. You'll see the share and like the toolbar at the top here, which is basically the OneDrive or the SharePoint experience for opening up a video. But it will eventually look like that Stream Player app that I mentioned earlier. So if there's a transcript, it should automatically have that associated with it. You'll have comments, things like that. Where that stuff's going to live, I actually have no idea because I don't think anybody's really documented it yet. But timeline-wise, I think is important to kind of discuss is the new player. So this is sort of a half new player. It's got like new icons. They moved around a little bit, but it's not really the new web app player yet because it doesn't have the transcript, doesn't have comments, doesn't have anything else to play with. This is sort of a 1.5 before we get to 2.0, and that's not due until September. So they say. You'll know that you're in stream because if I refresh this before you get the play button, so play shows up here in the center, you'll actually see Microsoft Stream at the bottom right. There's now a logo there, which I thought was kind of interesting. So there's a lot of things that are still to come. So if you look at the roadmap, you're going to see a bunch of items that are still due. Some of them seem to be sort of prerequisites to others that may not be out in time, or I'm not totally sure there. And then eventually there's going to have to be a migration process from the old stream to the new stream, and how that works. So I thought I would kind of toss it out there and just kind of, state of the stream.
State of the stream.
And look back at it because it's a long process and there's not been a whole lot that's rolled out to us yet. Really, it's just the meetings and recordings. Meeting recordings aspect that now it's going to be stored in OneDrive and SharePoint so that you can share it externally. And it's easy. And there's a couple minor things that have happened there too. The ability to automatically delete those, the feature to disable or disallow downloading of those video files, except for the owner of the meeting. A couple minor tweaky things, which those might be a big deal to you, but like big picture wise, it's not the new Stream Player app, right? Like that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I'm heartened. I'm heartened by the fact that they seem to be focusing on getting the administrative controls and the kind of the technical nonsense, the back end, the plumbing. It seems like they're deeply focused on that because we've known this transition's been coming for what, a year and a half now, 2 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
In the transition from recording in classic stream over to the modern experience, like we just crossed the threshold of no going back just a couple weeks ago when we reported it. So it does seem that they're trying to be thoughtful about it, considering that we only recently jumped from, some of us only recently jumped from Office 365 video 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So to have that whiplash
does O365 video still exist?
It doesn't exist for government tenants, or it doesn't exist for non-government tenants. But as you well know, based on your recent experience, it still exists to some.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm glad to see the progress. I'm looking forward to seeing the new modern Stream Player. I know that there's a lot of anxiety for a lot of people about, is this going to be, like in kind? Yeah. I still think it's an open question, like what playlists experience are going to look like, if they're going to be, is that going to be a web part or what have you?
Yeah. And actually playlist is a new feature that doesn't exist in the classic stream. It never did. Yeah. I don't know how they ever overlooked that one, but they did. You can make as many channels as you want, but like, that's not a playlist. You can't order things in a channel. It just shows things based on, metadata.
Just chaos.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Organized chaos. I thought one thing that was notable was, or a couple things. First off, like the Stream Admin Center is going away. Like that's the plan here, which is really going to have an impact on a lot of those video and multimedia services organizations out there, especially within big companies and big, I don't know, government bodies, whatever, schools, institutions, because those people are used to having a dedicated video service that they own, that they manage, that they control. And it's really just going to turn into, you're now just going to be a SharePoint site owner or owner of a few of them. And you just have to, manage those files, those video files. It's just, you're managing video files instead of Word docs and PDFs and stuff. And you're building a web page based on the web parts that you're provided, and you're not being given a default video portal experience, which is new for a lot of those people. Are kind of having their heads turned upside down because they're just not used to that concept. And while I see where Microsoft's coming from, they are very much turning this area sort of upside down.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like they're trying to grind up these job roles, these specialized job roles, which, as you pointed out, do exist in much larger organizations, and turn them all into SharePoint admins, which is great for Microsoft in the long run. But no, it's for the people. It's one thing to say, hey, look at all the options. But like, I'm somebody, I don't know about you, but like I get blank canvas syndrome where if I'm like, hey, I'm like, what can I do? And if the answer is you can do anything,
right? Yeah,
I'm paralyzed. I'm like,
right, totally. I can do that.
Anything. This is why I'm not a painter. Right. And so I think a lot of people are going to, particularly in an enterprise space where it's not my job to dream up, to imagine what a video portal could look like. Just tell me where I put the videos.
Yes, agreed. The thing I was thinking of there is like that's the exact reason why I think that the SharePoint lookbook is such a great thing, because
I was just about to bring that up.
A SharePoint site is that same concept. It's a blank canvas. You can do with it what you want. And like I always compare the lookbook to being like a paint by number. You know, like you can give me an easel of canvas and paint, and I can do something with it, but it's going to look like crap because I'm not a design. Like there's a lot of people that are really good at content management and might even understand design really well, but like they're not super creative to start from scratch. They need to see somebody else's example and work off of that. And I'm actually, this makes me kind of think I'm going to reach out to the person that does the lookbook and say, any chance we can get a couple stream, or video portal examples?
Oh, that would be great.
Specifically because, knowing what those web parts are, like, for example, the stream web part is going away too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm like 95% sure about that. So like, this is literally, nothing is about video anymore. It's just about the fact that it's a file that happens to have a play button. And that's what Microsoft is really pushing from the
that sounds horrifying. I didn't realize they were getting rid of the web part. I thought one of them was sticking around, but if that's the case, that's horrifying.
I'm pretty sure, but the fact is that a file preview web part is basically a generalized stream web part, right? Like,
I mean, you could make the same case about like the embed component versus the YouTube web part.
That's true. That's fair. And but the embed does do YouTube. Like, I mean, on the systems that I support right now, being in government, we don't have a YouTube web part. So, lucky you that you even have one. So I didn't even, I never really thought about that. But you're right. That's a very specific thing. But like, file preview is basically just, that's a
web part that anything. I don't understand is the Kindle one. Who asked for that? That was there on day one. No. There's a Kindle web part.
What I don't understand is the fact that you can't turn those off as an admin.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't.
And they all have the same GUID, and you can try and you can go to remove them and pull them, and like
can't do it.
Nope, can't be done. All those stupid branded ones that are in there, like Kindle, and like, oh, guess what else is in there? User voice.
Yeah.
Which they, they just stopped using. Like, come on, ridiculous.
I think our mutual friend Mark Anderson has a soapbox in a closet that he loves to stand on when we bring this up.
And then we close the door to the closet.
There's a lot of work to get it in there to begin with.
That's true. Yeah, it's a big soapbox. I mean, I'm working on mine, but I think his is still bigger than mine. The only other notable takeaway I thought too was so Stream isn't just about videos; it's also about broadcast. Stream, right? Streaming video. And I was also surprised to hear there's a bi-weekly or weekly Stream customer call that you can join, and it's an hour, and basically it's just open questions. You have the product group at your fingertips, and it's actually fantastic. The amount of transparency, really, really good. Very impressed.
That's awesome.
Not thrilled with the answers I've gotten, but at least I could ask them. There's a level of transparency that that value makes me happy inside, even if the answers I get are not so great. So I just assumed that, especially since COVID started, they had Stream can be used for broadcasts itself, for a live event, or you can do a live event in Yammer, or you can do a live event in Teams. So I just assumed that since Stream was always the home base for the live events, even though Teams is sort of the easiest and most common way for a typical user to get in there, the video organization, the multimedia services type of organization, they can still manage from Stream. Well, in that call, I needed to confirm, what features are we going to have available for streaming live events, and Stream is going to lose live events, even though for the last year they had been pushing there's a maximum number of 20,000, but if you have a good use case, reach out to us and plan ahead, and we can support up to 100,000. But you can't do that in Teams. You could only do that in Stream. So it turns out Teams is the only place for live events moving forward once the new Stream is fully rolled out and Classic Stream is fully retired, which was news to me. I don't know if that's something people generally know, but they stated it very clearly, openly. It was not like it was an MVP call. It was just a straight up any customer could join type of call. So that one was pretty interesting to me.
To be honest, I don't think most people even knew that there was a distinction between live events and Yammer and Stream versus Teams. Like you and I obviously know because we operate in the space, but true to Microsoft using the same branding over multiple services. Yeah, you call them live events. People just assume a live event is a live event. So I'm glad they're consolidating. Obviously, hopefully, we're not going to see them drop functionality as we seem to be leading up to it, but we'll see.
I have to. This one just made me chuckle a little bit. Hey, as many web parts as possible, because you never know what you might want to do with them. Who knows?
I mean, if they were going to take some sort of like GitHub forum and start collecting suggestions for it, I'd be all for it. But it seems to just be like a handful of like fever dream ideas that we had at the launch of modern SharePoint. And I've yet to see any third party adjacent web parts added into this since launch. So, as to why Kindle, why user voice, user voice made sense at the time, but either continue to enhance these or answer my questions. Microsoft, I've been calling you. Answer my questions.
Right. You keep calling the direct line, and not getting anywhere with that. So a comment that pops up here. So mentioned that the new experience for like the web app player not being as good, especially with subtitles. So the new player doesn't actually do that yet. So if you want or at least I'm pretty sure it does not. So if you currently want to apply a transcript to a video, you actually have to upload the video from SharePoint or OneDrive into the Classic Stream portal and then upload the transcript to it as well so that they exist together. But then that takes away the ability to externally share the file. So the whole big move of OneDrive SharePoint for video files or for Stream was all about the fact that internal videos and Stream couldn't be shared externally because for whatever reason they decided to develop this thing, I believe, on Azure Blob Storage, which
is that the official Azure Blob sound?
That was the technical. Yes, exactly. Right now you can only do one or the other, as far as I'm aware. So if you do want transcripts, you need to use them on the inside, and you can't share them externally. If you want to share the file externally, you have to use the OneDrive for SharePoint experience.
And we don't know if that's going to be the case after the fact. We're hoping that the reason they're taking this long, we talked about it in the news, that there's been a delay on this. Hopefully that means that they're solving for it.
Right. And that is the hope, definitely. Let's see if there are any other ones on that popped up.
Let's see. There was one I wanted to pull up here. That was just kind of an interesting broad question, which is, do you have the number of Teams updates since January 1st? Now, while I don't have it off the top of my head, this is a great opportunity for us to kind of talk about like where you and I get the information that we talk about. Let me go ahead and share my screen here.
And how frustrating it can be. Yeah.
So here we've got, can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jesus. Just bringing work home with me here. Can you see my screen? So this is the Microsoft 365 roadmap. This is where Matt, you and I get a lot of our updates from Microsoft. They communicate a lot of this stuff publicly. So if you're curious to see like where we're looking to get a sense of, what's coming and what's launching, you can actually come here. And more importantly, you can actually filter by product, including, if I can find it here, Microsoft Teams. Not only can you do this, but particularly kind of in line with this question here, you can also download this into an Excel spreadsheet, which is super useful if you want to try and filter for stuff that's relevant to 2021, as an example. So for those of you who, at least in this particular case,
Inception.
Who are interested in, like how much stuff is happening. If you're trying to prove value in investing time in research and analytics and, trying to build a narrative around where Microsoft is going for this stuff, it's a really great place to show like, this is a full-time job that Matt and I do for you for free. You're welcome.
I need somebody to pat me on the back.
Right. I'll get you one of those like back scratchers, but for patting.
That's nice. I like that. That's good. So that actually is a good segue to a topic that you and I were talking a little bit about earlier, which is, so this is the first time that I've actually gone back and looked at whether something came out when it was due. And I was, let's say, unpleasantly surprised by the number of deliverables that were due in July that quietly got changed to August.
Very quietly.
I realize quiet is contextual here because if they change July 2021 to August 2021 in the roadmap, like it's there, you can go look at it, whatever. But there's no like delta, heads up or notification that like this thing changed. And so in going through that, I looked at the export that I had from last week, and then I looked at the export from this week, and I was trying to note, because it's not like you see that, this week when I open it up and it says it's due in August 2021, that, last week it was due in July 2021. There isn't any sort of like progress bar or, status change update column, which would be nice, but, the fact that they even offer the roadmap as it is I'm sure there are plenty of people that hate the roadmap because they hate that their deliverables are visible, which I totally get. But like as a former project manager, like you got to own up to what you're doing, right? So we're kind of talking about putting together a spreadsheet that would actually track when something was due each week when we look at it, as sort of a resource that we're doing it anyway behind the scenes. So we think we're just probably going to push that spreadsheet out to people. So if you're interested, leave us a message in the comments.
Hit the like,
potentially look at that.
Drop it in the comments. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, to make that presentable for the public, it's going to take a little bit of work. But if it's worth it and you think that would be something you could use to see, each of the items, where their status is for each of the weeks that we look at it, it's something we can definitely do if the interest is there, because it does require some effort on our part. But I'd never looked at it that way before until this past week, and it was like, wow, that's a lot of stuff got pushed. I wonder how much stuff gets pushed every month, because there's no metric for that out there anywhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's worth the work, I think, but I'll be interested to hear what other people are saying.
I mean, I have to give a shout out here for the Kindle web part once more. That is absolutely, I hadn't thought about that. What a terrible marketer I am. Well, I'm glad I got somebody else to do my job here for me, because I had not thought of that at all. But
looks like we've got our mutual friend John Levesque joining us live. Glad you could make it, John. Here's an interesting one here. This is just kind of speaks to the challenges of rolling out these new products. I mean, Teams isn't new per se, but the rate of change within the Microsoft universe is ever growing. Yeah. And there are a lot of organizations, as Andrew's making mention here, that are just getting into Teams or just getting into Office 365. There are a ton of organizations out there where like Microsoft is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, maybe OneNote. OneNote has always been the cult favorite. Not massively adopted, but take it away, and all of Redmond would burn.
Yeah, totally.
But it's interesting to see, and I think Microsoft is aware of this to some degree, that organizations aren't really investing a ton of time in upskilling users to be more comfortable with using these tools, but also in terms of organizational investment of an actual larger scale training program. And I talk about this in one of my conference workshops that I do every now and again. They are starting to provide more in-house resources, whether it's through Microsoft Learn. You can go to learn.microsoft.com. There are some really great resources specifically within Teams, like really, really great Teams resources. And I think that you're only going to see that grow. So while we certainly can't save the day when it comes to encouraging organizations themselves to improve training, of course you can make the ROI conversation and blah, 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 blah. I think the reality is that we're going to see a kind of a grassroots push towards more self-service, help you help yourself, which, is that the better way to go? No, not really. But our company's going to spend the money. No, not really.
Do what you got, I guess. All right. Well, I think that about does it. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, a like and a subscribe is much appreciated. Leave a comment below, especially if you're interested in seeing that spreadsheet, or let's call it a tracker, or a we need to come up with a good term for it, like a not just delivery tracker, but like
the accountability tracker.
Yeah. How accountable are you? Roadmap, something along those lines.
Ooh, and then we can create like percentages, like how accountable are certain product teams.
And then we can look at the numbers and report them through Tableau just to really stick it.
I'm not paying Tableau money. Are you paying Tableau money?
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, God, I keep trying to talk people out of Tableau at work. Anyway, Sean, thanks so much for joining me this week, and I can't wait to hang out with you and everybody else next week. And let's see, next week we'll be covering general roadmap items update. We will not be looking forward, backward either, just kind of talking about what's new and all that stuff on our new schedule. So thanks so much, and let's see, take care. I guess.
Thanks, Matt.
Later.